Judaism is the world's oldest monotheistic religion, dating back nearly 4,000 years ago. Although it is hard to align all its texts with historical evidence, the best source for ancient biblical Jewish history is the Jewish Bible, with its famous narratives about Noah's Ark, the Exodus, and the rule of David and Solomon over Israel. According to it, Judaism is the expression of the covenant that God established with Abraham and his descendants through his grandson Jacob, who is also called Israel, which means the one who struggles with God. The people of Israel were chosen to be an exemplar nation and promised the land of Israel by God under the condition they lived in accordance with God's law, revealed to Moses on Mount Sinai in the Torah, also called the 5 books of Moses. Along with the Nevi'im and the Keruvim, they constitute the 3 divisions of the Hebrew Bible, or the Tanakh, also called the Old Testament by Christians. According to current historical view, Canaanite kingdoms were all polytheistic, but each had a national deity. For the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, it was Yahweh. Following the integration of the region into the Assyrian Empire, Israel rebelled and was destroyed. Its refugees fled to Judah, where Yahwism, the monotheistic worship of Yahweh, gradually became distinct from Canaanite polytheism. The Babylonians later conquered Judah and exiled its people, the Judeans, also known as Jews, and destroyed their first temple dedicated to the monotheistic worship of Yahweh. The Persians who later invaded Babylonia allowed the Jews to return to Judah, where they rebuilt the Second Temple and assembled much of the Hebrew Bible. After Alexander the Great's conquests, Jewish religious tradition gradually combined with elements of Greek culture to form Hellenistic Judaism, which spread to the new city of Alexandria. The two cultures, however, gradually developed friction until traditional Jews regained a short-lived sovereignty in Jerusalem in 164 BCE. The conquest of Jerusalem by Pompey of Rome spelled the end of Jewish sovereignty for 2,000 years as the region became a Roman-client kingdom. The 2 main Jewish revolts were crushed by the Romans, who destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem and then exiled the Jews out of the region of Judea. The Romans also renamed the region Syria Palestina after its historic inhabitants by the Philistines, traditional enemies of the Jews who were originally from Crete. Meanwhile, Christianity, which initially began as a Jewish movement, gradually developed into a distinct religion by Paul, partly because Christian Jews did not support the Jewish revolts against the Romans. It was open to Romans and non-Jewish converts and became the official religion of the whole Roman Empire by the 4th century. To fill the Jewish leadership vacuum, rabbinic ideology emerged as it was not dependent on political independence and combined the interests of the Jews and the Romans. Judaism became decentralized as Jews migrated to Galilee and across the empire. They flourished and incorporated many of their oral teachings by thousands of rabbis into the Mishnah, which became the center of the Talmud. Medieval Jewish history saw the spread of the Jewish diaspora beyond the Middle East throughout North Africa and Europe, as Jews gradually coalesced into 2 major geographical cultural groups, the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Jews. In Christian medieval Europe, Jews became involved in especially 2 main areas: international commerce thanks to connections in a widespread diaspora, and moneylending with interest, a profession forbidden in Christianity. Following the birth of Islam, the Jewish community, which had been persecuted by the Byzantine Empire, became more tolerated by the expanding Muslim Arabs, with whom they had cultural similarities. Important Jewish philosophers rose during the Jewish Golden Age of culture in the Muslim-ruled Iberian Peninsula, which uniquely witnessed the relatively peaceful coexistence of Muslims, Christians, and Jews, especially between the 9th and 13th century. Over the centuries, periods of Jewish persecution swept across Europe like tidal waves, time and again including the massacre of Jewish communities along the way of the Crusades expeditions to the Holy City, as they were considered a deicide people who killed Jesus. European medieval anti-Semitism derived from Christian theological views about Judaism. The scapegoating of the Jews as the cause of Black Death, the disease that killed half the European population in 5 years. Also, another example is when many Jews had to leave Spain for the more welcoming Ottoman Empire following the Reconquista, the expulsion of Arab Muslims by the Spanish Catholic kings. By the 17th century, half the Jews of the world lived in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which had become a haven for Jews from Western Europe. The Ukrainian rebellion, though, against the Catholic Polish domination was accompanied by atrocities against the Jews, seen as leaseholders oppressing peasants. The Russian Empire, which then took over the region, saw mass anti-Jewish rioting, which led the Jews to emigrate to the US and Western Europe, places where the Age of Enlightenment pushed towards Jewish emancipation, which is the granting of equal rights and the repeal of isolation and ghettoization of Jews. Jewish modernity is characterized by the end of a passive waiting for the Messiah as a moment of divine redemption and the beginning of an active pursuit of personal or national fulfillment. Still, the persistence of instances of anti-Semitism motivated Herzl to found the Zionist movement, contemplating the creation of a Jewish sovereign state in Palestine. Then came World War I, which was marked by the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the promise of a Jewish homeland by Britain, and the redrawing of the map of the Middle East. Then World War II claimed 6 million Jewish lives in the Holocaust genocide and was followed by the establishment of the State of Israel, which hosts today about 40% of the 14 million Jews of the world. Traditionally, a person is considered Jewish if their mother is Jewish, and if their ancestry traces back to Abraham through his grandson Jacob, regardless of personal beliefs and faith. Judaism is therefore technically not a religion, but primarily a matter of ethnicity, ancestry, identity, and culture. Although the Jewish nation possessed no territory, sovereignty, nor armies for 1800 years following the Roman exile, it endured and did not fade into history like ancient Egypt or Rome, probably because of its remarkable adaptability and its contributions to human civilization, including influences over Christianity and Islam.